In the rolling hills of Rio Negro, Colombia, on December 1st, 1949, a story began that would reshape a nation. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was born to a humble schoolteacher and a farmer, a beginning that gave no hint of the notorious figure he would become. Young Pablo grew up in the streets of Medellín, where poverty and opportunity intertwined in complex ways. As a teenager in the 1960s, he showed early signs of both ambition and defiance. He would tell his schoolmates that he wanted to be president of Colombia one day, even as he began his first forays into petty crime, stealing gravestones to resell and running street scams. The 1970s marked the true beginning of Escobar's rise. In a Colombia struggling with political instability and economic hardship, he saw opportunity in the growing demand for cocaine in the United States. Starting as a small-time smuggler, he quickly demonstrated a ruthless business acumen that would transform him into something far more dangerous. By the mid-1970s, Escobar had built what would become the Medellín cartel. His operation was revolutionary in its efficiency. He purchased properties across Colombia to serve as staging areas and constructed his own fleet of aircraft. Small planes would fly cocaine to Panama, then onwards to the United States, utilizing remote airstrips and sophisticated smuggling techniques. The profits were staggering. At its peak in the early 1980s, the Medellín cartel was bringing in an estimated $420 million per week. Escobar's personal fortune grew so large that he reportedly spent $1,500 monthly just on rubber bands to hold his stacks of cash. He owned luxurious homes, exotic animals, and a fleet of expensive cars. But Escobar wasn't content with mere wealth. He pursued power through a carefully crafted public image, building housing for the poor and soccer fields in Medellín's slums. The locals called him Robin Hood, and in 1982, he achieved a remarkable feat: election as an alternate member of Colombia's Congress. The boy who dreamed of being president had come close to legitimate power. However, the facade couldn't last. Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla exposed Escobar's criminal background, forcing him to resign from Congress. In response, Escobar showed his true nature. Lara Bonilla was assassinated in 1984, marking the beginning of a period of unprecedented violence in Colombia. This period of unprecedented violence in Colombia would leave a lasting scar on the nation. The late 1980s saw Escobar at both his most powerful and most vulnerable. His policy of plata o plomo, silver or lead, meant officials faced a stark choice: accept bribes or face death. The violence escalated. Judges, police officers, journalists, and politicians were murdered. A bomb brought down an Avianca commercial flight, killing 107 innocent people. The repercussions of this violence left a lasting scar on Colombia, a nation trapped in fear and chaos. In 1991, under increasing pressure from both Colombian and U.S. authorities, Escobar negotiated his own surrender. But it was surrender on his terms. He was imprisoned in La Catedral, a luxury facility he designed himself, complete with a soccer field, a bar, and a waterfall. From there, he continued running his criminal empire. When authorities attempted to move him to a standard prison in July 1992, Escobar simply walked away. The ensuing manhunt became one of the largest in history. Special Colombian police units, aided by U.S. forces and rival cartels, searched tirelessly for the escaped kingpin. The end came on December 2, 1993. Colombian forces tracked Escobar to a middle-class neighborhood in Medellín. As he attempted to flee across the rooftops, he was shot multiple times. The official report states he was killed by police gunfire, though questions about who fired the fatal shot persist to this day. Pablo Escobar's death marked the end of an era in Colombia. At 44 years old, he had transformed from a poor countryside boy into the world's most powerful drug lord, amassed a fortune worth billions, and brought a nation to its knees. But his legacy is one of violence and pain. During his reign, thousands of Colombians lost their lives, and the country's reputation was forever tarnished. Today, decades after his death, Colombia still grapples with Escobar's shadow. Tourist guides in Medellín show visitors the places where he lived and died. Some remember him as a Robin Hood figure who helped the poor, while others recall only the bloodshed and terror he brought to their country. The story of Pablo Escobar serves as a stark reminder of how ambition unchecked by morality can lead to catastrophe. His rise from poverty to power came at an unthinkable cost, not just in lives lost, but in the deep wounds inflicted on Colombian society, wounds that would take generations to heal. In the end, Pablo Escobar's life reads like a cautionary tale, a story of how the pursuit of wealth and power divorced from ethics and humanity leads not to greatness but to destruction. His legacy lives on not in the empire he built, which crumbled at his death, but in the lessons learned from his violent rise and fall.